Hello, my name is Gilles de Chambure. I am a master sommelier in California, and today we're going to be talking about Alma Rosa wines and the Santa Rita Hills. I've been very impressed by the Pinot Noirs and Chardonnay of Santa Rita Hills, and I've had the pleasure of spending time with Richard Sanford and the owner of Alma Rosa, Bob Zorick. I've taken them on technical trips to Burgundy and the Rhone. We've done comparative tastings at the winery, and the wines compare and are distinctive to Burgundy, but really have come across and have a true expression of what a Burgundian version of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir is in California. I'm very excited to bring these programs about Alma Rosa Winery and the Santa Rita Hills to you. Alma Rosa's winery's proprietor, Bob Zorick, is passionate about Chardonnay. His mission has been to create wines in the style of the great white Burgundies. Due to the unique growing conditions in the Santa Rita Hills, Alma Rosa Winery has been able to produce a unique, linear, flintier style of Chardonnay. Chardonnay has a long history and is the most venerated white grape in Burgundy. It is a versatile grape that can adapt to different regions and produces a diversity of styles. In Burgundy, it is crafted into elegant, complex Grand Crus in Montrachet and richer, buttery flavors in Meursault. In the northern region of Burgundy, the calcareous soils and cooler climate produces the great Grand Crus of Chablis, a leaner, flintier style of Chardonnay with a bright acidity and vibrancy that gives them great aging potential. The status of white Burgundies convinced the California wine industry to start planting Chardonnay in the early 1980s. Today, in California, Chardonnay is the most planted grape and has been the leading selling varietal in the United States for decades. It is currently number 2 behind Cabernet Sauvignon. Chardonnay was first introduced to California with vines brought from France during the gold rush as early as the 1860s in the San Francisco Bay. This Chardonnay selection, known as the Wente clone, was a low-yielding small berry selection with an uneven fruit set. It produced quality versus quantity. In 1971, Richard Sanford introduced the Wente clone in Santa Barbara County. He was the first to plant Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in the Santa Rita Hills at the now famous Sanford and Benedict Vineyard. The Chardonnay planting boom of the 80s and 90s demanded high-yielding new clones to fulfill the market demands and the economics of planting in very diverse locations. Chardonnay's adaptability to a wide range of climates and its ability to produce relatively high sugars made it a favorite of growers. At the time, the concept of estate bottling and single vineyard wines had not yet developed in California's, and wineries depended on the growers for their grape supply. Chardonnay's great affinity with oak aging also helped its popularity and defined its flavor profile. The fashion for Chardonnay came at the height of winemaking revolution that emphasized technology and cellar techniques. Winemakers were ambitious to show their skills in the cellar instead of highlighting the quality of the grapes and their origins. The overplanting of Chardonnay in often less than ideal sites created a wave of generic overdone Chardonnays. As a consequence, many consumers came to identify California Chardonnay with this style, a style that could be grown and produced in the warm interior valleys of California. Growers and vintners, yearning to return to a more authentic style of Chardonnay, began to search for cooler growing conditions among the coastal ranges of California. The importance of the vineyard location was becoming recognized, and distinctive regional styles were emerging. Ahead of this trend, Richard Sanford, founder of Alma Rosa, was driving around in 1970 in what is now the Santa Rita Hills, holding a thermometer out of the window of his old Mercedes. Driving from east to west, he noticed a drop of 1 degree per mile as he drove closer to the Pacific Ocean along the Santa Ynez River. Using his degree in geography from UC Berkeley and studying 100 years of climate records, he had singled out the only transverse coastal valley in California as a great site to grow Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. The Santa Rita Hills AVA is the closest AVA to the Pacific Ocean. This location opens the valley to the cooling influence of the Pacific Ocean. Early morning fog and afternoon cool breezes creates one of the longest growing seasons for the vines in the world. The latitude ensures a great solar intensity and a long dry growing season, a rare combination of sunlight and cool climate for Chardonnay to grow. Richard Sanford coined the term refrigerated sunlight. The long growing season concentrates the flavors in the grapes, giving great intensity and complexity to Alma Rosa's Chardonnay while maintaining a bright acidity and a firm structure. The soils are a mix of marine deposits with river forge alluvial terraces. These uplifted ancient seabeds consist of clay, loams, and calcareous material such as chalk and marl. This is one of the few places in California when one can find limestone, the great bedrock of the classic wines of Burgundy. These challenging sites create an ideal conditions for the vines to struggle and result in lower yields and intense flavors. The wines are ripe without being high in alcohol. The climate is cool enough for Chardonnay to push ripeness without losing acidity. The sun and wind creates a complex style of Chardonnay where minerality and the sites shows through in the structure of the wines. In 1981, the founder of Alma Rosa, Richard Sanford, started his Burgundian experimentation at Sanford Winery. He was one of the first to barrel ferment Chardonnay, a costly and labor-intensive endeavor. Very few French barrels were imported at the time. He experimented with native yeast fermentation, a risky undertaking and against the trend of technology at the time also. He used artisanal labor-intensive techniques such as manual lees stirring or buttonage in barrels, and experimented on partial and total malolactic conversions depending on the harvest and the vintage conditions. While bucking the trend of California Chardonnay, his wines gained a reputation on the East Coast, Chicago, and London, especially after the 1976 Paris tasting had highlighted that great wines could be made in California that could compete with the best of Bordeaux and Burgundy. Richard Sanford continued his pioneering spirit in the Santa Rita Hills and developed the Rinconada Vineyard in 1995 and the Encantada Vineyard in 2000. In 2005, he founded the Alma Rosa Vineyard. The Alma Rosa Ranch is a 628-acre encompassing a great biodiversity and rooted in the tradition of organic farming and environmental stewardship, with open natural grasslands and woodlands. The estate vineyard El Habali, planted in 1983, is the flagship of his Chardonnay bottlings. Newer planting of Chardonnay on 2 non-contiguous small parcels are located on northeast facing hillsides, bringing the total acreage of Chardonnay to 11 acres on the estate. Each block of Chardonnay is planted in an exacting and low-impact fashion, combining a variety of well-adapted clones and California heritage field selections. These individual blocks create unique cuvées for possible single vineyard bottlings or complex blends representing the vineyard and the appellation. The Alma Rosa Chardonnays are stylistically distinct, combining a freshness and a lightness and a vivacity with a minerality that allows the soils to show through in the structure of the wines. The natural acidities of the Alma Rosa Chardonnays, combined with barrel fermentation and sur-lie aging, give balanced, elegant wines with a vibrant core and a long finish and a great aging potential.